Melody Mendez has also been monitoring the situation. And one thing to keep in mind, Melody, is that this is not a local trial anymore. I know it's taking place in a Denham courtroom, and it's the Commonwealth that is the one that is charging Karen Read. But there are people around the world that are watching this. And so these moments are big, and I'm sure that pressure is on the officers as well to make sure that everything is handled as you would want it to be on the world stage.
JC, you are absolutely right, and I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I do think it's important to note. I've spoken to several of the police officers that are out here this morning, all of whom have said they are just trying to keep everything as civil as possible. They want this to go smoothly. They don't want folks to see, one of them, this was a direct quote from one of them, we don't want people to think that we can't handle this and see the fiasco they saw last time. So there is a very clear sense, JC, as to what you just said, that yes, the eyes are on this county, this city, this town, and specifically this courthouse right now. I've gotten to know a lot of the court officers inside this Norfolk County Superior Court over the last 8 weeks, and I have to tell you, they are all on high alert, as they have been throughout this whole trial, being so cautious and so careful as to every move they make. They are constantly watching what's happening around them. I do want to give you a little anecdote. I just had a chance to speak to some lawyers out here who were actually inside the courthouse conducting other business. They were here for civil reasons, and they were in the courthouse conducting other business when all of a sudden they said, you got to get out. They were in the middle of their case, and they said, you got to get out. We're evacuating the courtroom. They evacuated the courthouse, excuse me, not the courtroom. Got everybody out of the courthouse, with the exception of, obviously, the O'Keefe family, the Read family, the defense team, and the jurors, and the prosecutors, and they want everyone out. They want to keep this as safe and as pared down as possible inside that courthouse right now. You can see they've moved the barricades forward quite a bit to allow people to get a little bit closer. But JC, I'm glad you did mention that, because it is very clear that there is this extra law enforcement here, and everyone is just dotting their I's, crossing their T's to make sure everything is done as it should be. No doubt with a self-awareness of the attention it's getting, yes.
I apologize for interrupting. I wanted to ask you,
no, it's okay.
It's very easy to see the Karen Read supporters because they have all rallied around the color pink. From your vantage point, do you see, I don't want to say opposing side, but do you see other messages in that crowd? Because we see the pink from above and from a distance.
Yes, you know, a few things. First of all, I have met a few people, and I will say only two, but there are a few people out here wearing shirts and holding signs of support for John O'Keefe and for the O'Keefe family. I did have a chance to sit down and talk to them. You know, how has this been for you? Do you feel the tension that there was last time? And one of the gentlemen told me specifically, no, I don't at all, because he said he feels like he's not being attacked this time, and he feels like everyone is just kind of minding their own business. The other gentleman I spoke to didn't feel the same way. I will say that. He was definitely not thrilled about the Karen Read supporters that were in the area, but he came out here because he felt like the other side wasn't being represented. I do want to mention, too, I have been reaching out to contacts with the O'Keefe family throughout this trial, JC, for the last 8 weeks, and they obviously do not want to talk to the media, but I've been speaking with one of John O'Keefe's closest friends who didn't want to speak for the family. I've just been exchanging texts with him today. And his comments were that obviously this is, and I'm reading this from my telephone as I speak, obviously this is a stressful time. He doesn't want to speak for the family, but look, it's been 3.5 years. They're just trying to trust the judicial process and hoping that a jury is able to get to a verdict without any outside influence. And again, that person not speaking for the O'Keefe family, but just kind of giving me a perspective as to what his friends and family are going through at this point. And that's something that's been echoed, right, that we've heard his friends and family say previously. They just want justice for John, whatever that looks like, and they want it free of this outside influence. And I think that's part of the reason that the judge and law enforcement and everyone surrounding this case has been so careful to not be chanting outside the courthouse, to not be screaming outside the courthouse this time around, because as we heard from the jurors the last time, JC, I think you and Glenn mentioned this off the top, that juror said they could hear the crowds outside. They could hear the chanting, and this time that is certainly not the case, at least as far as the chanting is concerned. We'll have to wait and speak to these jurors afterwards and find out what, if anything, they heard from inside these deliberations. But it is very clear that this time around, there's not that hoopla, right? That loud screaming that
No,
we heard
Melody,
last time.
we hear you so clearly. We can hear the cars passing. We just heard the screech of tires. That tells you everything when you think of the size of the crowd, and we can hear that kind of minutia.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's hard not to empathize with the sentiments that Melody was just reading, because it has been 3.5 years. And then you get to a day like today when you expect to hear a verdict, and then you hear the fact that actually the jury changed its mind and it doesn't have a verdict. And then you hear again the verdict is reached. So that's where we are right now, all sort of teetering on the edge, waiting for this to come to a close after 3.5 years. NBC 10's Malcolm Johnson is also outside the courthouse. Malcolm, what are you seeing from your vantage point?
Hey, good evening, Glenn. I would say this is really organized chaos in many ways. As you just heard and you all mentioned, you were able to hear some of the things in the background as Melody was live reporting there. State police and other first responders have things under control here, no question about it. And I wouldn't say that this is a crowd that is overly frantic or excited. Many of them have a sense of calm about them and anticipation. It's emotional for many of them. If you take a look behind me here, they have set up these barricades on High Street, which is the main thoroughfare here in town. And if we look just past the barricades, you can see many of the folks with their hands in the air, waving, blowing kisses, giving the I love you sign in sign language. And then if we pan off to our left just a little bit, you can see the caravan of state police troopers that are lined up here, and obviously the media. Many media members have made their way here, not just local, but from across the country. So let's give you a sense of how people are feeling this way. If we walk over this way, again, hundreds of people here in attendance. Over this way, you have some of Karen Reed's legal team and their vehicles, their escort vehicles that are here waiting as well. I got a chance to speak with Dedham police officers. If you give us one chance, state police are telling us to get off the road here, so we're going to make our way out of the middle of the roadway. We were going to go and speak to a woman across the street. If nothing else, we can try and show her. Anthony, if we come over this way, we can show her. She's the woman in the white with the pink stripes there, and she's speaking with the Metro-elect police officer there. She's got glasses off to the right. I said, Cheryl, would it be okay if we interviewed you? And so that was our plan to do so. That being before state police told us we could not be in the roadway. You see she's got her hands folded there. We wanted to speak with Cheryl, who's also here with her sister and other family members, because I think the images that you see right now convey the emotion that so many people have here. I said, Cheryl, is it okay if we talk to you? You see she's flashing a smile now. She said, sure, it's fine. I may cry, but we're happy to talk to you. So there is this anticipation, but there is a sense of calm. I think another part of the story that we'd like to tell is I just got a chance to speak with a resident, and she said, we cannot wait for this to be over. She said, yes, we believe and stand for people who want to peacefully protest, but this is a lot. It's burdensome on our town. There are no parking spots. It's interfered with our budget. The police and fire department are utilizing all of their resources. And so I think for those reasons, while we do see people here peacefully protesting, locals are ready for this to conclude. So we'll send it back to you guys in studio and continue to give you all a feel of what things are like here out in the scene just outside of the courthouse. Things are peaceful, things are quiet as we continue to wait to get the response to that verdict.
It's such a heavy moment for supporters, whether you're looking for justice one way or another, and whatever this verdict comes in, I keep going back to Peggy O'Keefe. I keep going back to the sadness that no matter what this verdict is, John doesn't come home. They do have a civil suit, no matter what this verdict is, that they will continue with. So their fight, no matter the verdict in this, it appears like that will continue. We'll see how emotions are handled, because it has been 3.5 years. And we know this time, or we believe there's a verdict. They have said they have a verdict, but Glenn, as you pointed out, they handed in a verdict slip just an hour ago that they had a verdict and pulled it back. So our understanding is that this is now the verdict that's going to be delivered. Karen Reed waiting to hear what her fate is. 3 charges, and we'll have to hear whether or not 12 jurors came to a conclusion on those 3 charges. We are now going live to the courtroom.
Will the deliberating jurors remain standing? Defendant remain standing? All other parties may be seated.
Your Honor, may the record reflect that 12 deliberating jurors and 6 alternates are present?
Yes.
May I inquire?
Yes.
Mr. Foreman, members of the jury, have you agreed upon a verdict? Yes. Thank you. May I see the papers? Mr. Foreman, have the verdicts been placed in this envelope and have they been in your presence ever since? Yes. Mr. Foreman, on docket number 2282CR117001, murder in the second degree, what say you? Is the defendant at the bar guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
So say you, Mr. Foreman? So say you? No. Do you agree?
Yes.
Do all of you agree? Yes. Thank you. 002, what say you? Is the defendant at the bar not guilty or guilty?
Not guilty.
Of.
Is not guilty or guilty of that charge or any lesser included charge? Thank you. Specifically, number 5, operating under the influence of liquor by operating a motor vehicle with a blood alcohol level of 0.08 or greater. Correct?
Yes.
So say you, Mr. Foreman?
Guilty.
So say you all?
Yes.
003, what say you? Is the defendant at the bar leaving the scene after accident resulting in death? Is the defendant not guilty or guilty? So say you, Mr. Foreman? Yes. So say you all? Yes. Jurors, hearken your verdict as the court records it. You, upon your oath, say the defendant on 001 is not guilty, on 002 is guilty of operating under the influence of liquor, and 003 not guilty. Thank you.
All right, jurors, everybody please be seated. Jurors, we thank you for your service. We're going to send you back. Your service is complete. I'd like to come back and talk to you for a little bit afterwards. So thank you very much.
All rise. Call me.
Defendant Karen Reed has been acquitted in the murder of her boyfriend, John O'Keefe. Karen Reed has been acquitted in the murder of her boyfriend, John O'Keefe. However, this jury found that she is responsible, that she is guilty for one of the lesser included offenses, and that offense is operating a motor vehicle under the influence of liquor. Let's listen in again.
Found not guilty will be sealed by the Commissioner of Probation by the court unless you notify the Commissioner of Probation in writing within 10 days that you do not want these records sealed. To request that these records not be sealed, you may use the request not to seal form, which is posted on the trial court's website on mass.gov. I cannot accept the form here in court. You must submit it to the Commissioner of Probation at the address provided on the form. Please be aware that if the records regarding the charges which you have been found not guilty are sealed, you will be unable to access the sealed record of the not guilty dispositions or any other records regarding those charges. If you want copies of any documents regarding those charges before the records are sealed, you should request copies from the court within 10 days. Do you understand? Thank you.
All right, so we need a date for sentencing. Can we do it next week?
Okay, we would be prepared to go forward today.
Okay. Okay.
All right, they just said they're looking to set a date for sentencing. Prosecution says they are prepared to move forward today. I think the most startling part after we heard the verdict was the volume of the cheers that you could hear right
You could hear it very clearly.
The courtroom.
Very clearly, you could hear those cheers. And sentencing, as you mentioned, JC, would be the next step. It probably will happen today. We know from our own research that the offense could be punished up to 2.5 years, but that is very rare for a first offense. Probation is more likely for a first offense And so we'll have to see what the sentencing is ultimately. Looks like there are some things getting worked out inside the courtroom. Let's listen in again.
So the standard that everybody else gets on a first-time OUI?
Certainly.
Okay.
We ask that you be treated no differently, no better.
So I'm happy to do it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all.
1 year probation, 1 year probation on docket number 002, the lesser included offense of operating under the influence. 1 year probation. Thank you. The 24D program. Thank you.
Immediately. All right.
Goodbye.
That's it. You heard she's getting what a typical first-time offender would get for OUI, which she is getting 1 year probation. We don't know if there will be a fine. That's the paperwork that has been done. But we can point out here the prosecution didn't fight for more. Judge Cannoni had some latitude there. She could have given her up to 2.5 years in prison. It's uncommon, especially for a first time, but the prosecution could have asked for that, and they didn't. The fine is anywhere from $500 to $5,000, and then there's usually alcohol education programs that go along with it. But as you can see, this is a win for the defense team, in that there you see Karen crying and she's hugging her friends and her family. We saw tears in Yannetti's eyes, one of the defense attorneys. We saw defense attorney Jackson hugging the attorney Little, who is there. This is 3.5 years of emotion that is just starting to, I would assume, start to leave their bodies within the courtroom, and then outside the courtroom. Again, the cheers that came down. What we'll look to Sue O'Connell for later is, if you notice, the side where John O'Keefe's family sits, the side where his supporters sit, is empty. And so how they reacted to this, we do not know. But there you can see live pictures of, there you see Mr. and Mrs. O'Keefe, and Karen standing right in front of them in that light blue suit, and she is allowed to leave. She is a free woman. She is on probation, but she's free.
Yes, you know, she was.
Well, she wasn't guilty of murder. That was great news. That's great news. So I want to thank everybody on all the channels, because we're on multiple channels right now. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and supporting my live streaming of the Karen Read murder trial. Thank God it's fucking over. Thank God it's fucking over. And thank God it wasn't a hung jury. And thank God it wasn't a hung jury, so we don't have to go through this bullshit again. Thank fucking God. We never have to sit in another courtroom again with Karen Read. I don't have to spend another 30 plus days streaming a Karen Read trial. Thank motherfucking God it's over. Right now I feel like fucking now that it's over, I feel like MLK. Free at last, thank God Almighty, the trial is over, and everybody is free at last. Oh, thank you. It's been a trial from hell. On day 6 of the trial, my streaming computer went down. We have been streaming the rest of this case since day 6 on a piece of shit computer. That's why the video hasn't been in 4K or 5K and 10K like all the other people who are streaming this case, because I got stuck on a piece of shit computer because my computer died right in the middle of this case. And dealing with this piece of shit and barely streaming to you guys on Rumble and YouTube and everywhere else I've been streaming, it's been a goddamn nightmare. And I'm glad it's over. Free at last! Thank God Almighty! Everybody's free at last! Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, and good night. I am so happy she's not getting jail time. But you gotta remember, people, it's not over. It's not over. Because the O'Keefes have already filed a civil lawsuit against Karen Read. And that civil lawsuit was put on hold depending on the retrial. So yes, she may not be guilty in the criminal court, but the family is going to sue her for every friggin' dime this woman owns. Okay? So, you know, I hope I'm not right, but I see, you know, I don't see Karen Reed ever getting married. I don't see Karen Reed ever having a boyfriend or a husband again after this trial. She's probably gonna be an old maid. She will always be branded with a scarlet letter. You know, don't date her, she might kill you. She'll always be branded with a scarlet letter. So, even though she's not criminally guilty, there's always the court of public opinion that will continue to think she's guilty, just like people continue to think that O.J. Simpson was guilty, even though O.J. Simpson's son did the murder, not O.J. Simpson, but that's a story for another time and another place. So, I think she's gonna, you know, die alone, die in obscurity, pretty much like O.J. Simpson. You know, a few years nobody's gonna know the name Karen Reed. A few years from now, but like I said, it ain't over. The family's planning on suing her, and they don't televise civil lawsuits. So, and I'm not in the mood to deal with another 30 days of a trial. So, even if they were to televise the civil lawsuit, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. But like I said, the O'Keefe family, she might be all happy now, but they're coming after her. They're going to sue her. I was on Karen Reed's side. I'm still on Karen Reed's side. I don't think she's guilty of murder. I don't think she hit John O'Keefe with the car. I don't think she ever hit John O'Keefe with the car. I've always thought she was guilty of DWI. Yes. Did she have too much alcohol that night? You're damn right she did. She had way too much fucking alcohol that night. Way too much alcohol. So in my opinion, yes, I agree with the court. And I agree with the jury. She's 100% guilty of DUI. Not running over the fucking boyfriend. She never was. So, well, if you want to follow the rest of the story, follow it in the news. But I'm done. I'm free at last. This shit is over. Thank you and good night. Oh, free at last. Free at last. Thank God Almighty, I'm free at last. "36 days, Mike. 36 days. And you gotta remember, that's 36 days of just the trial. There was another 7 days on top of the 36 days of them picking a jury. That's right. It took them 7 days to pick this jury. So yes, even though it says on my live stream right now, on Rumble it says day 36, you got to remember that there were 7 days before that where they were selecting a jury. So, where is Ziggy? 36 plus 7.
36 plus 7 is 43.
Yeah, so this shit has gone on for 43 nightmare days. And thank God it's over. Thank God it's over. I'm free at last. And I'm going to let you be free at last because I'm going to shut the fuck up. And I'm going to end the live stream. Those of you on my Roku channel, you stay right the fuck there because we're gonna start that movie over again. The one that was just interrupted with the verdict. So if you're on my Roku channel, we're gonna start the movie over again. Okay? Alright, so let's start the movie. Let's go and let's kill this stuff and get out of here. Because I know I've had enough. I've had enough. It's over. It's done. So let's start again. And if you want to know where my Roku channel is, those of you watching on YouTube, it is in the pinned section of the comments, the post section on my channel, where it says watch Cameron Reed trial coverage. It gives you the Rumble address, and then right underneath it, it gives you the link to the Roku channel. Well, click on that. It's on both channels, both of my YouTube channels, if you want to watch a movie. So I'm going to cue up the movie again, and we're going to get on out of here.